The Fox Original Gangster, titanium scales, MagnaCut blade, designed by Bob Terzuola. One hell of a combination. We have a legendary American designer, one of the very best steels on the market right now, and a clean Italian build. Yet this knife flies a bit under the radar. So I've been spending some time with this one, and I want to break down what you're actually getting here. So we're going to talk about the design, we're going to talk about the steel, the carry, and whether the price makes sense when you stack it up against the competition. Let's get into it. The Original Gangster is a Terzuola design, and if you know Bob's work, you know what to expect. No drama, no gimmicks, nice drop point blade, substantial handle, nothing wasted. So clearly designed by someone who actually used knives in the field. This really shows. It is based on the ATCF concept, so Bob developed that somewhere in the 80s, I think 86, 87. He developed it basing it on his experience with military and security personnel in Central America. So the whole philosophy of this ATCF was, we make it lightweight, we make it strong, we make it corrosion resistant, we make sure we can open it with one hand, and we make sure we can open it with the left and the right hand. And the Original Gangster, this one, is basically the same DNA, but wrapped into modern materials. So this blade is a flat ground drop point. It has a nice fine tip. It has a good belly, and clearly a geometry built for cutting. So no gimmicks in the grind, no unnecessary complexity, just it simply does its job. So these titanium handles, in my opinion, are quite nice. They have a stonewash finish, milled very nicely. There are no loose tolerances at all. This is a big and a sturdy knife. It really fills your hand properly. Very nice knife. Okay, build quality. So Fox doesn't always get the credit they deserve for build quality. People still associate Italian production with mid-tier stuff. But this Original Gangster, and especially the one in titanium and MagnaCut configuration, is put together very well, in my opinion. So blade centering is very good, no issues there. The lockup is very solid, let's say 20%. One thing to notice here is the angle of the blade tang. It is quite high, it's almost 15%, I think. Terzuola recommends 7-8%. He recommends a low angle because, well, you need an angle. First of all, you need an angle to prevent over traveling. Then you want to keep the angle as low as possible, because the higher the angle, the more lateral force you are going to get. And lateral force will easily disengage this liner lock. That is the idea. So basically, when force is applied, you get force that is the load pad goes down, and then you have a vertical load pad, and then the angle defines the division between the downward force and the lateral force. So lower angle, lower lateral force. And then you want to increase the friction between the liner face and the blade, the blade tang face. So that, to achieve that, you also angle the liner so that you maximize the contact between the both, and that maximizes frictions, and that works against the lateral force. So that actually keeps your liner lock locked, and that is basically how liner locks work. So other than that, very nice blade. Tolerances are very tight. It's very well done. It is a big blade, of course. Let's quickly measure it. Yeah, 22 centimeters, 9 centimeters blade length, and 12 centimeters of handle length. Big boy, you will not lose it in your pocket. How much does it weigh? 5.9 ounces, 168 grams. Then the action, in my opinion, the action is absolutely great. Yes, very smooth. You can also use a flipper tab. Absolutely great. So this is the thumb disc. It's typical for Terzuola. It's textured, so it catches your thumb very well, and it's very easy to open. It has an added benefit. You can put your thumb on this. So that increases your control over the blade, and the same actually goes for the flipper tab that has some jimping on there, and that doubles as extra control area as well. Let's talk about the comparison between the Starmate 20CV by Spyderco and the Fox Knives Terzuola Original Gangster. So, showdown. Which one do I like best? What are the differences? First of all, first difference that's very noticeable is the steel. So this one uses MagnaCut and this one uses 20CV. Big difference there. This one favors edge retention. Definitely beats MagnaCut hands down in the edge retention department. MagnaCut, of course, is tougher. Both of them are very corrosion resistant. So this one, I think, in composition has 20% or so chromium. This is lower. I think it's 12% or something. I'll put it on the screen because I know I've got the number slightly wrong. The difference here is that the chromium goes, 100% of the chromium goes in solution, I think, and here only a part, of course, probably 14–60%. I will look it up, put it on the screen. Both of them perfectly stainless, and that's actually all we need to know. This one a bit more brittle, of course, but sharper, and that is the difference as to knives. It has a hollow grind, which I think is suitable for a tactical folder. This does not have a hollow grind, so thickness behind the edge is definitely bigger than with the other one. Let's quickly measure this. Yeah, well, that is 1.14. That is quite thick behind the edge. And 0.83. Voila. Indeed, more of a slicer. Other differences, yes. This one has handles in titanium, and this one has handles in G10. That's a big difference. G10 is much lighter than titanium. You will also see that in the weight. Let's quickly get the weight, the scales up here. I've known in this review I've measured the Original Gangster before. You still remember it's 5.9 ounces and this one 4.3 ounces. Significant difference between the two. You can really feel it in hands. Yeah, the difference is definitely noticeable. What else do we have? The ergonomics. So this one, yeah, it feels nice. But this one also feels nice, and this one is thicker on the handle, much thicker on the handle. So this one fills out your hand a little bit better. Of course, this depends hugely on the type, the size of your hand, how long your fingers are and stuff like that. But it feels good. Also, this thumb disc here, it just gives a good feel. This is also nice. Here, I could have used a little bit of a thicker knife, thicker handle, I mean. So that is what I'm missing here and what I'm definitely getting here. In my opinion, I get a better grip on the Original Gangster than I do on the Starmate. Other than that, in the size department, I would think they are of a similar size, definitely, yes. Then, one major difference is the liner lock is very accessible here, so there is a very big cutout, very easy to open without hurting your hand, and that is, with liner locks, oftentimes a bit of an issue. However, there is a cutout here too. It's accessible, but it is not as accessible as with the Starmate. But still, it works very well. Then, the action. Well, for the action, you have a flipper tab and you have a thumb disc. Typical for Terzuola. Very, very smooth action. How well does this work on the Starmate? It works, but my God, I have to put... It almost rips out my nail. Smoother action on the Original Gangster. Not only that, but you also have the possibility to use the flipper tab. Very nice. So the action is much better on the Original Gangster than on this one. Why? Well, partially because detent is perhaps a little bit stronger on this one. Detent is indeed stronger on the Starmate, but still quite strong on this one. But once the detent has been overcome, you're running on bearings with this one, and with this one you're running on washers. And washers, they're a bit less smooth in their action. And especially with a bigger, somewhat heavier knife, that might make it much more difficult to open with thumb or back flip. See, it's possible, but you can hear You can hear my voice straining while I do it. I already anticipate for the not fully opened knife. And here there is no issue at all, no stress whatsoever. So then we have the price difference, of course. This one I bought at $450, which I think is way too high price, but that's my fault. You can buy it now at $350 euro in Europe, but prices are similar in the United States. This one I bought at $230, which I think is a smoking deal on that one. Very good deal, very cheap. Say that's still 120 euros difference between one and the other for a fairly similar type of knife, where this one offers you titanium and this one offers you G10. Now this knife, of course, this Starmate is more collectible. It is a sprint run. It is a, well, more or less limited edition. Usually sprint runs are about 1200, but you're never sure. In my opinion, they made more of this one because it's a 50-year anniversary edition, and you do not want to celebrate that by a complete lack of product to offer. But I'm not sure of that. That's just my opinion. Also, collectability-wise, Terzuola himself released these on his website, and he offers them for about the same amount of money, but with his signature on. That carries a double tier of collectability that does not favor this version of his knife. I think if collectability is a thing, your preference should be the Starmate, because there is no collectability at all for this Fox Original Gangster. Then my opinion, my preference goes to the Fox Original Gangster if you put aside the collectability point, because I like the stonewash better, I like the titanium handles better, I like the way how it feels better, I even like the fact that it weighs a little bit more better, the thicker handle, the thumb disc that you do not have with the Spyderco, and of course what does it for me almost 100% is the absolutely super smooth action of this knife. So voila, that's my opinion on the comparison between the Starmate and the Original Gangster.
If you liked the video, please like and subscribe and check out my other videos.